As I mentioned, when you first come into the system, you've got a choice of, which road you travel. You can go to writing tasks or you can go to workbooks. You can toggle between the two from this icon at the top. So if I'm in Vision, I'm in writing. If I'm in workbooks, I'm in workbooks. Toggle between the two. The classes and students stay with you no matter which application you are using. So let's just quickly have a look at what it means to be in the Vision, writing environment. So for a student who's in my class, I say Rocky, uh, Rocky's got a complete, as every student does, a complete library of continuous and situational writing examples. Now you could ask Rocky to do one, or you could let Rocky just pick his own topic. Students tend to navigate towards, the topics they think they might have a best shot at, but it's also good to challenge them with topics they possibly haven't seen before or thought about, because they're obviously the ones that'll come up on the day. So it's a matter of having a look at what topic you want to do, and then simply putting it into action. So you just say, do the activity. Now, there's a couple of sort of ways of use cases that are going on here. Now, obviously, tutors have phones. Students also typically have phones, possibly not in the classroom. So this could be a group writing event that could go on to the projector. Everyone's writing to this one. Everybody goes into, gets out their piece of paper and starts writing. So it could be a teacher-led writing event. And the topic's on the screen and the scaffold's on the screen, so that we can let students, go through the scaffold with the students. It could become a real tutoring event where we could take apart the scaffold and then get to the point where they're ready to write and have them write, like almost like an exam sort of frame of reference or a class reference. So that's one way of doing it. Obviously, the other way of doing it is the students can be at home with their parents' phone and they've got this sort of support on the phone as they're writing with the page beside them. So there's all sorts of ways and modalities that you can run this environment. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get, from the students something that we can help them, with feedback on. So as a tutor, you could collect all the pages at the end of class and simply just step through the students, taking a picture of their work. Now, obviously, you would use your camera live on your phone. It doesn't store the images on your phone. Everything's securely stored with us. It doesn't clag up your phone. So, that's the best way of sort of like managing it, is to take a live photo with your phone. You take multiple pages, it's no problem. But just make sure it's a good clean shot. The whole page is in and it's as square as it can be. They're really the only requirements. And handwriting is preferred, obviously. So let me load a photo and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so I've just gone to my library, picked my photo, and I hit grade. Now, again, you could be managing this so that you get the feedback first, or the students could be at home practicing doing it themselves. It's either way. I'm letting it run so you get a sense of how long it takes. And it takes about 10-15 seconds to get a result on a piece of writing, which is quite amazing. And you'll see the feedback come through now. So I suggested score of 15 out of 14. It's marked against the PSLE continuous and situational rubrics. So it's very capably marked the work, read the handwriting, good and bad, and come up with the rubric and what it thinks about how you could improve, what you should work on, and it'll take you through each sentence and each paragraph piece by piece to help the student put back together, a better product. It's all about getting a better product through feedback. So this feedback here can be downloaded and given to a student, and so you work through this feedback and try again, one option. Second option is, trust them to get out their phone and edit online. So if they're at home, they'll do this. In a classroom, they'll follow your lead. But students get, and you get to see as well, the overall perspective of what happened, and then let them traverse through each sentence, fixing it with all the reasons why and feedback to help them. So as they go through, they will, accept the suggestions 90% of the time, but we sort of make them stop and hopefully read what the problem was so they can learn. It transfers from sort of current memory into long-term memory. So that's the whole idea of this, is to keep them in their zone of proximal development without giving them way too much feedback. We step them through piece by piece, and they get to experience how they could piece by piece nudge themselves up a level, and that's really important to get right. When they're finished, they'll obviously click this button and they've got a chance to work with final improvements. Now, Claro has been with us all the way, but now it probably comes into play where, I'm towards the end of my essay writing. I've done my changes through my sentence structures, my grammar, punctuation, spelling. I now want to develop my characters even more. So how could I develop my characters? Now, Claro will never write the essay or the text for the students. It will just simply look back into what they've written and start asking you questions about how you could maybe approach this a different way. So when you get to see this in action, it's incredibly safe and it's very, very supportive. It really takes apart the story the kids have written. It knows the topic. It knows the expectation that the writing topic has. It knows the scaffold. It knows the story mountain. It knows the PSLE rubric. So it's going to nudge these students bit by bit in a ways forwards that helps them improve their story. So it really is on topic. It's not general advice. It's not, if you just give this a go. This is really talking about the kookaburra. What motivated the kookaburra? Was it hunger? Was there something else driving the way it was behaving? It really gets into the knitting of the story and it helps them rewrite the story. Now, you could get this rewritten in handwriting. I've never seen that happen where students have spent hours doing one. They hate going back and writing it all again. It's up to you and your leadership. You could let them edit online on their phone and retouch up the naughty kookaburra in a better way that makes more sense. Either way, something good will happen and they click grade to go on. So they get a second pass, they get to fix it, they get to see the feedback, they get to improve their writing, and they get to submit it for grading one more time. Now, I didn't do very much, so I kind of went backwards. Download the report, send it to people, have a look, give it to the students. It's depending on how you want to run. And then, of course, you can go on the next day and keep writing. So as a tutor, as a leader of a group of students, you can run this in a way that they're all on the same page, pardon the pun, or they can all fragment out and do the activities that they think they like to write themselves. You're always in control, you're always tracking, you're always seeing what's going on, and you can dip into any student and have a look at what they've been up to, what's in progress, and what's been completed, and go back and drill into the feedback again. So everything is stored for you, nothing is lost, and it's a really simple and straightforward experience for everybody.